For those who know him, he exists as El Duce, a name whispered in hushed tones, often with a mix of fear and fascination, a name synonymous with controversy, forever etched in the scandalous pages of rock history. He was the frontman of the Mentors, a band as infamous for their music as they were for their outrageous behavior. Their concerts were chaotic, their lyrics explicit, and their presence unforgettable. El Duce was a man who lived life on his own terms, unafraid to walk the gritty streets of controversy. He was a provocateur who reveled in pushing the boundaries of decency, always eager to shock and provoke. His lyrics were obscene, his performances vulgar, and his persona larger than life. Every show was a spectacle, every song a statement. He was a walking middle finger to societal norms, a defiant figure who refused to conform. But beneath the shocking exterior, there was more to El Duce than met the eye. He was a complex individual full of contradictions. Was he a misunderstood artist, a man whose true intentions were lost in the chaos he created, a victim of his own creation, trapped in the persona he had built? Or was he simply a master manipulator who knew how to court controversy, a puppet master pulling the strings of public perception? The answer, like El Duce himself, remains shrouded in mystery, a legacy forged in controversy and intrigue. The Mentors emerged from the underbelly of Seattle's music scene in 1976, a time when punk rock was still in its infancy. But unlike their contemporaries, the Mentors weren't interested in simple rebellion. They craved something more extreme. Their music was a potent cocktail of punk, metal, and shock rock, raw, aggressive, and unapologetically offensive. Their lyrics, often delivered in El Duce's guttural growl, were a litany of misogyny, violence, and depravity. They were the band parents warned their children about. Their live shows were legendary for their outrageousness. El Duce would often perform drunk or high, spewing obscenities and engaging in acts of self-mutilation. The band's notoriety grew with each shocking performance, attracting a devoted following of punks, metalheads, and those who lived on the fringes of society. The year was 1985. The satanic panic was sweeping the nation. Conservative groups, led by Tipper Gore and the Parents Music Resource Center, were on a crusade to censor music they deemed offensive. And the Mentors, with their explicit lyrics and shocking performances, found themselves squarely in the crosshairs. El Duce was called to testify before the PMRC hearings. It was a media circus. Here was this beer-bellied frontman, a living embodiment of everything the PMRC feared, being grilled by senators and concerned parents. He reveled in the attention. His testimony was a rambling, incoherent diatribe that only served to solidify his image as a public menace. He mocked the senators, defended his music as free speech, and even offered to have sex with Tipper Gore. The Mentors, once a fringe act, were now national news. El Duce was a master of provocation. He understood the power of shock value, and he wielded it like a weapon. His entire persona was a carefully crafted act designed to elicit a reaction as a beer-swilling, womanizing, anti-establishment rebel. He embraced his role as the villain, reveling in the disgust and outrage he provoked. But beneath the surface, there were glimpses of a more complex individual. He was intelligent and articulate, capable of engaging in thoughtful conversations about music, politics, and society. He was also deeply troubled, battling addiction and personal demons. But these glimpses were fleeting, often overshadowed by his outrageous antics. Section 5, Love and Death in the Viper Room. In the mid-1990s, El Duce's name became entangled with one of music's most enduring mysteries, the death of Kurt Cobain. The grunge icon's tragic end left fans and the media searching for answers, and El Duce's shocking claims only fueled the fire. El Duce claimed that Courtney Love had approached him with an offer to kill Cobain.
A perverted. He's just a perverted.
Yep, a warped, intoxicated, most of the time.
So, but you did some deal with Courtney, right?
Yeah. She offered me 50 grand to whack Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, I was telling you this.
She what?
50 grand to whack Kurt Cobain.
And that's a fact, is it? But people might think you're not the most reliable witness.
Well, that's too bad. You may not be the reliable witness your own self. Now think about that one.
Yeah.
You know, when she offered me money, God dang, I wish I would have taken it, man. But I know who whacked him.
But how were you going to whack him? Did she tell you how to do it?
Yeah, blow his fucking head off.
So
She
where
had
were
a
you going to
shotgun.
find him to do it?
Well, up there, and she gave, mapped it out. I mean, up there in Bellevue, wherever they live, right outside Seattle. I know right where the house is. I know right what garden to pop him in. I just didn't think she was serious.
But did she tell you how she wanted you to
Yeah,
pop
she
him?
says, blow his fucking head off. I got the shotgun.
But she didn't say anything about
Make
making
it look like a suicide.
Well, yeah, but if you just blew his brains out like you said, it wouldn't look like suicide. It looked like you blew his brains out, right?
But I told Alan, my friend, who I'll let the FBI catch him. But that's just the way it's done. End of story. Hey, 50 grand does a lot of talking. You buy me a beer, I might do some more talking.
This allegation sent shockwaves through the music community and beyond, casting a shadow over Love's already controversial public image. He even claimed to have passed a polygraph test, which he believed added credibility to his story. The polygraph results, however, were never officially verified, leaving many questions unanswered. His claims were met with skepticism by many. Some saw him as a troubled individual seeking attention, while others believed there might be a kernel of truth in his words. Was he telling the truth? The uncertainty surrounding his statements only deepened the mystery. Or was he simply seeking attention? The media frenzy that followed his allegations certainly gave him the spotlight he seemed to crave. It's impossible to say for sure. The lack of concrete evidence left the public divided and the truth elusive. But his allegations added another layer of intrigue to the already mysterious circumstances surrounding Cobain's death. Conspiracy theories flourished, each more elaborate than the last. El Duce's claims about Courtney Love would follow him for the rest of his life. They became a defining part of his public persona, overshadowing his musical career. They would also indirectly lead to his death. The controversy and the attention it brought may have played a role in the tragic events that followed. In 1996, he was interviewed for the documentary Kurt and Courtney, where he repeated his allegations. The documentary brought his claims to a wider audience, reigniting the debate. The interview would be his last. Shortly after, El Duce was found dead under mysterious circumstances, adding yet another tragic chapter to the story. Section 6. A Fateful Night in Los Angeles. On April 19, 1997, El Duce was found dead on the train tracks in Riverside, California. He had been struck by a train. The official ruling was an accident. He had been drinking heavily and wandered onto the tracks. Case closed, but many refused to believe it. The circumstances surrounding his death were just too suspicious. He had just given that explosive interview about Courtney Love. Was it merely a coincidence, or was there something more sinister at play? Conspiracy theories began to swirl. Some believed that Courtney Love had orchestrated his death to silence him. Others believed that he'd been murdered by someone else entirely. The truth, like so much else in El Duce's life, remains elusive. The lack of a clear explanation for El Duce's death only fueled the speculation. Witnesses claimed to have seen him arguing with two men shortly before his death. Others claimed that he had been acting paranoid and fearful in the days leading up to his demise. The police investigation was criticized for being rushed and incomplete. Evidence was lost or ignored. Witnesses were not thoroughly interviewed. The whole affair reeked of a cover-up. But by whom and why? The conspiracy theories surrounding El Duce's death became a cottage industry. Books were written, documentaries were filmed, and websites were dedicated to unraveling the mystery. But the truth, like the man himself, remained elusive. El Duce left behind a complicated legacy. To some, he was a free speech martyr, a victim of censorship and political correctness. To others, he was a misogynistic pig who deserved to be forgotten. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. There's no denying the impact he had on music. The Mentors, with their outrageous antics and offensive lyrics, helped to push the boundaries of what was considered acceptable in rock and roll. They paved the way for other controversial artists who followed in their wake. But El Duce's legacy is forever tainted by his controversial persona and the mysterious circumstances surrounding his death. He was a man who lived and died by his own rules, a man who courted controversy and ultimately became a victim of it. El Duce was a walking contradiction. He was intelligent but crude, charismatic but repulsive, insightful but self-destructive. He was a master manipulator who craved attention, but he was also a deeply troubled soul who seemed to be searching for something he could never find. He was a product of his time, a reflection of the anger, frustration, and alienation that permeated American society in the late 20th century. He was a voice for the voiceless, even if his message was often drowned out by his own outrageousness. In the end, El Duce remains an enigma, a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside a beer-soaked, obscenity-laden enigma. He was a man who lived and died on his own terms, leaving behind a legacy that continues to fascinate and repel in equal measure. Eldon Hoke, the man who became El Duce, was a complex and contradictory figure. He was a man who defied easy categorization, embodying both the raw energy of punk rock and the darker, more controversial aspects of the genre. He was a provocateur who reveled in shock value, but he was also a talented musician who genuinely believed in the power of free speech. His performances were not just about the music, they were a statement, a challenge to societal norms and expectations. He was a walking car crash, a train wreck you couldn't look away from. His on-stage antics were legendary, often blurring the line between performance and reality, leaving audiences both mesmerized and horrified. His life and death were shrouded in controversy, fueled by his own outrageous behavior and the enduring mystery surrounding his demise. The circumstances of his death have been the subject of much speculation, adding to the mythos that surrounds him. He was a man who lived and died by his own rules, leaving behind a legacy that continues to fascinate and repel in equal measure. His influence can still be felt in the music world today, a testament to his enduring impact. Was he a misunderstood artist, a visionary who was ahead of his time, or simply a provocateur who thrived on chaos, a victim of his own creation, someone who got lost in the persona he created, unable to separate the man from the myth, or simply a master manipulator who knew how to court controversy? A man who understood the power of media and used it to his advantage? The answer, like El Duce himself, remains elusive. He was a figure who defied easy explanation, a man who was as much a mystery in death as he was in life. He was a man of contradictions, a walking paradox. His life was a blend of brilliance and chaos, a testament to the complexities of the human spirit, and perhaps that's the most fitting legacy of all. A man who continues to provoke thought and debate long after he's gone.